This is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage, your place for all things Wisconsin sports. Now, your host, Trage.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Wednesday, April 16th, a fantastic Wednesday here in the great state of Wisconsin. The weather is getting better, right? Getting a little warmer out there, and it is getting closer to spring, right? It's fantastic. It's just fantastic. That's all we got to say. It's fantastic. I wanted to say tonight here, happy belated birthday. I already said happy birthday to her, but happy belated birthday to my wife. My beautiful wife. She just had her birthday there over the weekend. And then also my sister having her birthday today here. So happy birthday to them both. Great. I celebrated with my wife on Saturday there. I'm trying to remember my days back. It's weeks are a blur sometimes, right? You have a newborn kid, weeks become a blur. And then my sister will celebrate at some point, right? So happy birthday to them both there. But we got lots to get into tonight. I mean, holy cannolis. We got Scary Alvarez coming on tonight here. If you guys don't know who Scary Alvarez is, you're going to find out tonight here. Badger guy. We're going to talk about Badgers with him, Badger football in particular tonight with him. That's going to be coming up here just after this start of the show here. So we're going to be talking about Scary. We got Ummer coming on tonight, talk about the Packers. We got Kyle coming on to talk about the Bucks. We have all kinds of exciting stuff here coming up tonight. A good weekend for myself there. We had our first 12U baseball, our tournament games, whatever you want to call them, 2 games up in Athens there. And it was a pretty good time. It was a pretty good time there. I got to say, though, what drives me nuts. And, okay, we're just going to start it out hot and heavy today. We're going to start it hot and heavy, right? We always have the segment of what's grinding my gears. We're going to start it out hot and heavy today. You want to know what grinds my gears the most? Is when parents coach their kids during the game. Drives me nuts. You send your kid and you want him to be coached by so-and-so, right? So you send him off. And then you watch during the game and these kids are standing there and they're playing the game. And let's just say they swing and miss, whatever. And you watch them constantly turn around and they're listening to their parents yell at them from the stands and tell them, why'd you do that? Why did you swing at that? Why didn't you swing at that? Why is this? Why is that? Why are you sucking? Whatever. It drives me nuts. It does. You want to talk to your kid when he goes home? Great. Talk to your kid when he goes home. But during the game, let him play. It drives me absolutely bonkers. It does. Because I always say it to you guys. The game of baseball is so much mental. And you know how hard it is? I had to tell my boys the other day, right? Because we have a big issue with flushing, forgetting, moving on, right? You make an error, whatever, you walk a kid, whatever it is, you swing at a bad pitch, flushing, forgetting, moving on. It's a pitch-by-pitch league, right? That's how it goes. That's baseball. It's pitch by pitch. It changes. Everything could change in a matter of one pitch. And we sit here and we watch, and parents, they harp on their kid after one pitch. And it's like now that kid has to flush it, forget it, listen to their parent yell, flush it again, forget it, step back in the box and try to hit. You want to talk about mentally exhausting? You want to talk about making the game worse? That's it right there. Drives me nuts. And you might think I'm crazy for saying it. You might say, well, Trage, come on. I don't trust the coach, so I'm going to coach my kid. Coach your kid when he goes home. Coach, these coaches get paid, whatever. Maybe they're volunteers to show up and help your kid. Let them do their job. For that little while, let them do their job. If you don't agree with them, fine. But at the end of the day, this youth baseball, these kids, they got to get out there and just play sometimes. And you just tear them a new one all the time. What are you growing? Are you really making them better? I don't know. Maybe you think you are, but it drives me nuts. It absolutely drives me nuts. If you're a parent out there who does that and you want to say, well, Trage, you drive me nuts. I'm sorry. But that's my opinion on it. I could not foresee myself sitting in there and just yelling from the crowd and after every single pitch and every single at-bat. No. Cheer your kid on. Tell them they're doing a great job. And then when they go home or you're in the car on the way home, you can tell them everything they did wrong. That's the way to do it. My mom used to do it to me all the time. My dad, same thing. They would let me play the game. They'd cheer me on during the game. After the game, they'd tell me what I did wrong. That's when you need to hear it. Maybe it's something you can correct during the game, right? I always remember my mom back in high school. She'd always tell me, sitting over there she'd sit on the bleacher and she'd always tell me, like, I'd run over by the 3-point line or whatever. She'd be like, hey, do this, whatever. Like, she talked to me during a game. I get that. That's fine. But productive things, not tearing them a new one. Well, I just swing at that. I don't know, because I felt like it. You already feel like crap, and yet you're going to make it feel worse, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. That's what's grinding my gears coming into the day. So another thing that's grinding my gears, you want to talk about grinding my gears, and that's kind of what Scary and I are going to talk about here coming up here in just a little bit. But this whole thing with Nico there down at Tennessee, I don't even know how to say his last name, so I'm not even going to try. I don't want to butcher it there. Nico Ialema, whatever you want to say it, their quarterback down there at Tennessee. He's transferring. He's transferring out, decided to skip practice, transferring out, whatever. He wanted $4 million. Tennessee didn't want to pay him $4 million. They wanted a pay raise up from 2.4 to $4 million, right? And Tennessee said basically, no, dude. And now he leaves. And I saw a report there. It was a Power 4 conference guy, one of the commissioners basically, and said he's not worth anything. He's going to have a hard time finding a new home. So I just see this, and I saw the article. And the article basically stated that before last season's playoffs, Nico told Tennessee that he wanted more money before participating in the playoffs, or he basically hold out. And many other players did this same thing. My initial reaction was, are you kidding me right now? Seriously? We're going to hold out of the playoffs? Where's your pride? Is there any pride left in the game in college? Is there any pride? Like, I can tell you one thing. There's pride, like Wisconsin, Carter Gilmore. That dude, walk on, didn't care, just wanted to play for the Badgers. That guy had pride. 100%. But then I hear stories like this with Nico, who probably just ruined his career, because I'm looking at it, they say, he basically saying that it's going to be interesting test of how smart and disciplined colleges are looking at him, because what he said is he has zero market. So what's his big idea? What's his plan, right? Because now he might have just screwed over his career. I don't know. I don't know. This is the problem that is college sports now. This is the problem that is college sports. And something that we didn't want, we advocated for. We wanted players to get money. I am all for guys getting paid, because I don't believe that ESPN should make money off of guys' name, image, and likeness. I agree with that. But this is getting out of control. And now you have reports and stories of guys trying to basically blackmail universities. I'm not going to play unless you give me more money. I'm not going to play in the college football playoff list. You paid me for 13 games. That's 12 plus the championship game for the conference if I get there. You didn't pay me for a playoff. So now you owe me extra. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Have some dignity. Have some pride. Go and play for the teammate. Go play for your guys. Right? You're telling me you're going to sit out. That absolutely drives me nuts, is that when guys sit out of bowl games, whatever, and they stand on the sideline, they watch, right? I can't remember who it was last year setting that record. There was a Cam Ward when he was going for that record, and he sat there and he watched Miami blow the lead, and he watched this disastrous happen, and he just stood there and watched because he took himself out of the game. He just wanted the record. I would hate that as a teammate. I would ask guys if they didn't want to be there, or if they didn't want to play, not to show up. I want the guys who want to be here to play. I want those guys here. I don't want you here. You were my teammate. Now you don't care. You're protecting yourself for your future. Sure. That's fine. I don't know. Drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely nuts. So, Nico, that big story happening over the weekend there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there if he finds another college, whatever is going to happen there. But that is just the tip of the iceberg of what is wrong with college sports. And that's a whole nother thing we can get into on a whole nother day because it takes even more time. We're going to get into it a little bit more here. Just after the break here, we're going to have a quick break. We're going to come back. Scary's going to be hopping on here. Scary Alvarez. We're going to talk Badgers. Badgers have transfer portal news. Not good news. Maybe not good news. I don't know. We'll see what Scary says here. We'll be back after a quick ad break. We'll jump into that there with Scary. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back. It's April 16th. It's a fantastic April 16th, and that is because we have one of our great sponsors here at the show, Foreman's Hardware. They offer everything from home essentials to farm supplies. House to farm, grills to drills, Foreman Hardware has got you covered. Visit today in Loyal, Colby, or Medford, Wisconsin there. Tell them Trade sent you. Get 5% off. Nothing better. Nothing better this time of year. Get all your spring essentials. Tell them Trade sent you. Get 5% off. I can't think of a better deal right now anywhere out there than at Foreman's Hardware there in Loyal, Colby, and Medford, Wisconsin there. So, hey, I mentioned before we went to the break, we were talking about the mess that is college football right now. I wanted to get a guy that I see as an expert on Wisconsin sports. He tells me he's not, but I think he's an expert on it. I got the Scary Alvarez here tonight here on the show. Scary, how are we doing tonight?
Well, I can't answer for you, but I'm doing pretty well as usual. Got a goblet of sherry wine to my side and ready to get cooking. And by the way, I want to say, Foreman's Hardware, just an elite hardware store. Whenever I'm in central Wisconsin, north central Wisconsin, and I have a hardware need, they're cooking, buddy. That's all I'm going to say.
There we go. That is what we needed right there. That is what we needed. From Scary himself, get yourself in to Foreman's Hardware there. So we have lots to get into because we were talking about a little bit. We were messaging back and forth there, but the Wisconsin Badgers right now. Can you make sense of the mess that is what is going on in the transfer portal or what is going on? The transfers coming in, now they're leaving. What is going on in Wisconsin?
Yeah, and Frank, it's a good question, and I want to properly orient everyone for what's happening. The transfer portal opens up again tomorrow officially. Sure, some people knew that already. And so the fact that there are a bunch of people announcing right now, both in Madison and across the country at 100 other schools, that's not a surprise. That's kind of timing wise. This is when it was going to start happening. Now, we can get into, I'm not sure how much you want me to get into here on this, but we can get into the who's, what's, and where's and whys of the people who are now in the portal. And we're sitting right now at Koziel, although I'm not sure it's official yet. We all know Koziel's gone. Mark Hamper, who it is official with, and then Quincy Burrows, the receiver who came over from Cincinnati a few years ago, has now gone. So, and there are going to be more guys because obviously the depth charts and things like that have shaken out over the spring practices, and guys kind of know where they stand right now relative to where they might have a month ago. And it's a fact. We're going to see other guys leave. And of course, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. We're going to have some additional guys come in too. So It's going to be a fun next 6 weeks or so.
That's the thing is you got to look at it from both sides, right? You're going to have guys leaving, but you're going to have guys coming in. And Luke Fickell, I mean, he doesn't really seem concerned. He said, according to Dylan Graff, this is the quote that he got there. He said, this isn't for everybody, right? This is a grown man's league, and this is a grown man's game. And if guys don't understand that, then this isn't the right thing for them. It is what it is. I mean, that's the cold hard truth. Like that, it is what it is. If we're going to sit here and gripe over it, like, we can't grow, right? And that's where Luke Fickell's at. He's like, if I'm going to sit here and complain and I'm going to worry about it, I'm not going to get this program heading in the right direction. So, I mean, we're talking about the losses of these guys. Is there a bigger impact than the tight end room? Losing a tight end like that back into the transfer portal there? Because now you're back at square one with, I guess, Ashcraft, right?
I've had a kind of an evolution of how I thought about this. The more I learn about Koziel, the way he went about his business in practice, or maybe perhaps didn't go about his business in practice. I'm not here to bash kids. That's not. I said off camera. That's not my thing. But I do want to give some flavor and texture to the things that are happening. I would have thought this was an absolute disaster a month ago if I had said, "Hey, in a month from now, this elite, maybe not elite, but very very strong portal guy you got out of Ball State entered the portal that quickly." What I understand is that, and I think you kind of played it in nicely with Fickell's quote, they run tough practices. They get up early. This is not a country club. And so there are going to be, in every recruiting cycle, in every transfer portal cycle, a couple of people, sometimes more than a couple, and that doesn't mean everyone who transfers has this mindset, but there are going to be a few of these guys who it's hard / different than they thought it was going to be. I believe Kozio might be one of those guys. I think, he's a kind of a finesse guy. He's very talented. This isn't about his ability. I think he would have been a real nice pass catcher, a real good red zone guy. But did he want to be blocking? Did he want to be getting into the trenches and mixing up? I'm not so sure based on what I've heard that was his thing. And so I feel like he came in, he got a glimpse of what Luke Fickell football, Wisconsin football is, and I think we're getting back to the hard-nosed, Jeff Grimes system is going to be reminiscent, I think, of some of the things we've seen in the past before the ill-fated Longo era. And he decided it wasn't for him, and he took off. I don't think that's a loss. I think you always want someone to work out, but I am not lamenting Mark Hamper transferring one iota. And the fact that Tucker Ashcraft is having a really nice camp and seems to be putting it together, certainly better than he did last year, I think we're going to be okay. I think that's a position that's going to utilize the tight ends better, and I think Ashcraft is going to do just fine. That's one thing. Hamper is another guy, and now we're kind of, he kind of did a little bit of a shot across the bow in his all thanks to God, all that stuff he did in his statement and stuff. But he did a little bit of a, I wasn't understood or something like that. And I just get the same vibes from Hamper. And so when I see people, both Wisconsin fans and Gopher fans or Hawkeye fans, laughing and saying, "Oh, what is Fickell? Fickell sucks. These guys are leaving." I'm telling you, I don't really, for these two dudes, I don't put this on Fickell at all. I really don't. I mean, unless you want to say like he should have known them better before they transferred. I feel like these are guys who were not good culture fits. And if you believe the insiders, so to speak, Hamper was not a starter. He wasn't going to be starting this year. I mean, who knows? There are a lot of different systems, and he probably would have gotten the field a significant amount, but that's not a name you're hearing a lot early on. And of course, he's been sitting out for a while. But I guess, and I mean, I'm going to have people saying, "Scary, that's just Cope, man. That's scary Cope." I get that all the time. Cope. It's not Cope. I don't need to cope with anything. I call it like I see it. I think we're going to be okay without Hamper and Kozio. I think we're going to be just fine. I think the locker room is probably a better place without those guys. It's going to be all right. Quincy Burrows is the third one. Everything I've heard about Burrows has been positive since he came over in 2023. So I don't have a read on him other than the guy just can't get on the field, in games. I was hopeful, and as I mentioned earlier, the fact that the portal just opened up, and of course this is where a lot of guys jump off. This is a good indication of maybe where the depth chart was looking as spring practice starts to kind of head towards the end of the sessions. And my guess is he wasn't in the too deep, and he's a talented kid who's fast, has ball skills, the boundary guy that we really wanted but just didn't quite develop apparently in 3 Springs, and he'll find another place and it'll be okay. So none of this is out of the ordinary. If you look at other schools, Hal had 4 running backs go into the portal on the same day. This is not, I'm not saying we're aspiring to be Justin Wilcox and the Golden Bears, but what I'm saying is everyone looks at their program. We have fewer transfers right now than most quality programs in the country, because that's just how crazy the portal is. Anyway, Frank, I'm going to step aside, but that's where I am right now, kind of as a preliminary matter on some of these big news items today.
You hit the nail on the head. You did. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. These guys weren't up on the depth chart. They were, like you said with Kozio, a little bit soft in your opinion, which that could very well be. He got used to the Jeff Grimes system. He said, "I'm not a part of this. I wanted to be a part of an air raid. I'm not a part of this ground and pound. I want to play in the trenches kind of football." I love that answer, because that explains everything. And it comes back to the thing that I talked about in the first section of the show, the first segment of the show. And it's my problem with the transfer portal. Guys don't know how to fail. They don't know how to fail anymore. That's where we're at with the transfer portal. Guys get knocked down on the depth chart, right, to the second string, whatever it is. And you know what? For a guy like Quincy Burrows, I don't know if he's ever going to see the field at Madison. Okay, that's fine. Like, you want to go somewhere else, that's what the transfer portal's for, right? But Kozio, those guys, it's the way that it sucks. It absolutely sucks, because you're not teaching these guys anything anymore. I get it's a professional league now. Guys are being paid, NIL, everything like that. I get all that and that hoopla and everything like that. And the transfer portal's meant for it, right? I get it. But I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Because like Tom Izzo said, like all these great coaches that have been in the past, what are we really coaching anymore? We're just letting guys jump around. I just saw AJ Storrs going to Ole Miss now. That's his eighth school in 8 years. He went to 4 high schools and 4 colleges. That's ridiculous. There has to be something that prevents these guys from just being able to, oh yeah, I'm going to join up with, the Badgers here. Oh, at the end of spring, I'm leaving. See ya. Oh, well, What's Luke Fickell supposed to do now? He's like, I was just planning on this guy to be my starting tight end. Now it's like, crap, okay. Now I got to go back into the portal and hope that I find another guy. I wasn't worried about it, but now I have to worry about it again. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know, in your opinion, and I talked about this a little bit in the first segment of the show, but in your opinion, do contracts need to be brought into this? Because we are professional now. We're making money, right? We're making money. Ask Nico, right? He wants $4 million from Tennessee. Like, we're making money now. Do contracts have to be involved?
Well, I mean, yeah, they do. They need to be more formal because there are contracts. Koziel has a contract either with the collective, the school, or both. Just like the gentleman who departed from Miami. It needs to be more formal. There needs to be more guidance. So I want to back up a little bit because I feel I need to properly define my general feeling on NIL and things like that. I am generally very pro player. They have been absolutely unequivocally taken advantage of for 100 years by big money conferences and teams and sponsors. I love the fact that players are getting a share of the. I think that's great. But you need to have some semblance of order to it, or you're going to have this Wild West show where, for example, Xavier Lucas, there's literally like the NCAA says, you don't even have to enter the portal, you can just go to Miami. That became a new rule that day. The NCAA just said, oh, okay. Meanwhile, the NCAA is spending tens of thousands of dollars on high-priced New York and Chicago lawyers to fight Nazir Forkarin from getting an extra year of eligibility when the guy missed a full season almost and then was injured another season. What are we doing here? It's the willingness. So there needs to be, frankly, and we don't need to get into politics here, but a great thing Congress could do right now is take some of that energy and stop the partisan bickering, get together, have a kumbaya, and get a workable, logical landscape for college sports and NIL. What a great accomplishment. I mean, it's such a huge thing for America's soul and happiness is having these college sports. You go across the country on Saturday afternoons throughout the fall, and it's magical. It's things you can't create. It's almost like a fairy tale land and it makes people happy, and it's not given the proper amount of attention. So that's kind of where I'm high level. Now, getting back down to the Badgers and the things you're saying as far as contracts, I think Fickell has done everything he can possibly do, short of there being legislation and rules in place. You can hear the frustration in his voice. He's like, we can't, and it goes with like whether they're going to cut the roster size and scholarship numbers, which of course is out there now. He's like, I have these guys that brought in on scholarship. I'm gonna have to look in the eye in a couple months and say, you're off scholarship now. This is the worst time to be a football coach in the history of football. So I have some sympathy and some grace for Luke Fickell. I think there are criticisms that can be levied against him, not the least of which his choice in offensive coordinator, which was he would immediately tell you it was a horrible regret picking Longo. But I do have some sympathy for him and the stuff he has to deal with. People saying Leonard and Chris, they would have been fine. Paul Chryst would have taken a jump off a cliff having to deal with anything to do with this stuff. He hated where the direction was going. That's why Wisconsin's recruiting class was 67 heading into halfway through his last season. It was going the wrong direction. It's why we had a former Wisconsin center as a running backs coach. That was going to hell in a handbasket. Leonard might have been fine, but Leonard was still learning the ropes. It would have been, I think, a disaster. In terms of this thing, if it was just coaching, Leonard would have been fine. I love Leonard. He gets his guys in there and coaches, but dealing with the NIL and all this BS stuff, it would have been a disaster. Fickell's the right guy for that. He's got the mindset. He's got the CEO mindset. but he hasn't been good enough on the coaching end. And I think that's what he's trying to remedy right now. I love the Grimes hire. I love the new harder edged, hard nosed, get back to the basics attitude that we're having. That should make Wisconsin fans really happy. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of answering 6 different ways. Yes, you need a system, a coherent system in place for NIL that makes sense, that makes the playing field as even as it can be when you have the CEO of Nike spending for one school and Dan Katz given some money from Barstool for another school. It's not, these playing fields are not level, but let's make them as level as we can be. Like MLB at least has some rules, even though the Yankees and Brewers are in different stratospheres. There's some rules where you can find success at the lower levels of payroll. I'm going all over the place, man, but that's generally where I am. And it's not. I think I came in kind of hot against Hamper and Koziel. It's not nothing against these guys. I want these guys to be successful and put some money in their pockets. It's great. They just want the right guys for this program. That's my vibe. And hopefully they end up somewhere where they're happy.
I love that take. I love that take on there. I agree with you. I thought NIL was necessary. I think the problem was they opened up the floodgates and they didn't just let the water trickle first. They just said, screw it, and just open it up and let players have basically control over the whole system. There was no limits. Why is the transfer portal open up while the season's still going on? That's my biggest question with the basketball, because we're having March Madness and the transfer portal's open. So guys are coaching their players, trying to recruit players, asking their players if they're going to stay. It's ridiculous. I just think, like you said, there's a contract, but there's not a contract. There isn't something binding them. There's supposed to be something binding them, right? To like the Xavier Lucas situation that we know, and we all love that situation, right? And still, who knows what the heck even ended up happening there. But I mean, there has to be something that says, hey, this guy, this is how I feel. They need something that says this guy is locked in for at least this year. Right? When he signs that NIL deal, he's locked in for the university for this year. I understand it's supposed to be school comes first, but that's gone. We know that. Like it is now, it's athletics come first. We know that now with these guys. Money comes first. Nico, we just saw that at Tennessee. Doesn't care. Right? He doesn't care. They were going to sit out of the playoffs. There was multiple guys who wanted more money going into the playoffs. Otherwise, they were going to sit out. That's ridiculous. There's no pride in schools anymore. There's nothing. So I agree with you. I love what Luke Fickell's doing. Get me the guys that want to be here. Not the guys who are here for money. Get me the guys that want to be in Madison, who want to play football, who want to play tough, hard-nosed football. That's the guys I want. I love that, because that's what I love about Greg Gard. He wants the guys who want to play in Madison, not the AJ Stores. I don't want none of that. He said, AJ, I loved you for a year, but dude, see you later. I'm not matching. I'm not doing any of this crap. You want to be here. You want to be here. If you don't, you don't. I'll help you if you want help. That's it. Out the door. That's what I love about Greg Gard. And that's what I like about Luke Fickell at this point, is he's just saying, you don't want to be here. See you later. Like, we're not going to try too hard for you.
That's well said. That's all well said. And like, look, Luke Fickell probably spends a half an hour before he goes to bed every single night regretting that he didn't do this 2 years ago, because I think it's who he is. And I don't know. Look, a lot of us were super excited about Longo. I'm not going to pretend that there wasn't, like, it was tantalizing. It's like you have a really reliable car that's worked a long time, a minivan that's great, or a Cherokee, and you have this Maserati, and it's like, hey, Wisconsin's going to do all this cool stuff. So I understand the appeal of it, but Luke, in his heart of hearts, and probably well beyond his heart of hearts, would freely tell you that was a terrible mistake. And if he would have gone with a Grimes type initially, I think Wisconsin, there would have been bumps and bruises there. That's just the way it is with new programs, because it's a very, I tell you, I did Jack Nelson podcast, had Jack Nelson on, our tackle that just left. Wish we had him back for another year. But he just goes, it was just such a different system, just different. But he said good things about both of them. And he said what you just said about Wisconsin. Right now, the vibe is we want guys who want to be here. Tough guys, not the guys who want the fancy Fendi bag or something, not the guys who, it's not to say kids can't get rich playing for Wisconsin, because some of them can, but like, they want the tough meat and potatoes guys who are going to go in there and want to bleed Badger red. And yeah, you need some 4 stars in there. Certainly, you're never going to have the same roster Ohio State does. It's the reality of it. To the money equal out, it's not going to equal out anytime soon. But he has a vision for the program now, I think. That he kind of had maybe in the back of his mind. I think it's coming to fruition now with Grimes in there. And look, you Treg, you've seen the schedule. You know what's in front of this team this year.
Yeah.
It is depending on the aggregator that you look at, the source you look at, it is almost a consensus top 10 NCAA schedule. The one I loved was the one it was Wisconsin and 9 SEC teams. Wisconsin was fourth in terms of the difficulty of schedule. You don't like seeing Wisconsin and Alabama having the same schedule. And I know Barry Alvarez is looking at that Alabama game down Tuscaloosa going, in 2019 or 2018, whatever that was, he goes, that seemed like such a great idea. And we were playing in the Big Ten West, and we would have Purdue and Northwestern and Minnesota and Nebraska.
Yep.
He wasn't thinking in 2025 we're going to have, a road game against Michigan, Ohio State, a road game against Oregon, a road game against a good Indiana team, a really good MAC team in Miami coming in, a road game. It's going to be a terrible. So this is going to be a daunting schedule that might make things seem worse than they actually are. But I feel very confident that Fickell is going to put a product on the field this year that is going to feel competitive. I'm not sure what that win total is going to look like, but it's going to be. It's possible you could have a 4-win team in 2025 that looks and feels and performs significantly better than the 5-win team last year and the 7-win team from 2023. Is that fair?
Yes, that is exactly what I have said. I have said this is my biggest problem with Luke Fickell, and this is when I watch these games, when I watch them get blown out, it looks terrible. Like, it doesn't look like football. It doesn't look like Wisconsin football. It looks absolutely ugly. I don't even want to watch the game.
Doesn't have the room.
Exactly.
He didn't have the room last year against Minnesota, Nebraska. Didn't have the room. Iowa didn't have the room.
I agree 100%. And that's where I look at this season. I say, I asked people, I said, how do you measure the success of the Badgers this season? Because you can't go wins and losses. Like that's hard to do, wins and losses. I said it's about the product and what it looks like when it goes out there. If you play competitive games, but the thing with it is, you got to get your one signature win. That is what Luke Fickell has missed every single year, is that signature win. Where are you at when it comes to the Big Ten? Because the Big Ten's tiers, right? You got Oregon, Ohio State, those teams are up at the top. Where does Wisconsin fit in? That's what I think we need to find out. Like, are they there with Iowa yet? Because after last season, I can't say we're there. After Minnesota, we're ahead of Minnesota, I hope, right? I don't like PJ Fleck. But, I mean, where do the Badgers fit in? That's what I want to find out. Are we on the tier with those teams that we're supposed to? Like, we beat the teams we're supposed to beat. Where are we in a tier now? Are we right above them? Or are we with Iowa? Are we with Minnesota? Where do the Badgers fit in? That's what I want to find out this year. Is like, can Luke Fickell beat the teams he's supposed to beat and beat the teams that are right there with him?
Yeah, I think that's a good baseline. And the reality is it's tricky in the sense of, like, the head-to-head stuff is there, but the stuff with, who ends up with the best record, Minnesota's schedule is preposterously easy. They do have some tough games. I think they'll play Ohio State. I think they start this, but it's easy. Nebraska's schedule is easy. Iowa's schedule is easy.
Yep.
I don't mean easy like ours is going to be easier in 26, because it is easier. It's easy like the kind of ones we had in 2019. 2018. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I love those teams. I love those guys. I'm a big Paul Chryst fan, but he had such easy schedules compared to now. And Fickell makes reference. He goes, this isn't the Big Ten you're used to. This is the new Big Ten. And so he's like, we can't whine about it. It's the reality. But Wisconsin, this is their 24 and 25 where they're bad. They're tough ones. And then it goes back to being a little bit better next year. Fickell needs to, getting back to your question, it's the eye test. You know it when you see it.
Yep, 100%.
And so 2 levels. You said we need a signature win. I think that's true. But more important than a signature win is you got to win at least 2 or 3 with Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota. You got to win 2 of those games, at least. And if you win all 3, I don't want to say it's house money, but if you win those 3 games, I think things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
With the rest of your season. That's going to be a strong indication, because those 3 schools, you can make an argument at the end of last season, and this includes Minnesota, which we are a superior program, in quotes, than Minnesota. They were a better team than us. And if you watch those teams play at the end of last season in Camp Randall, you had no question which was the better. That wasn't an upset. Yep. Minnesota was better than us at that moment. Minnesota players at heart. PJ was coaching well. it was a complete debacle. So that, I don't want to give Fickell too free a pass. I think he's a talented coach who's had a bad run of it, but that still happened under his watch. I know there was no offensive coordinator in that game, and there's but that's the bet he's laying in, man. So, and he's not the kind of guy to run from stuff. He's owned that behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. He owns it, and he's trying to get better. And he has people always say chicken ride with Fickell at Cincinnati. Was it his assistants or was it him? Because you look at what his assistants are doing. You got the best offensive coordinator in possibly in college football up at Notre Dame right now was his offensive coordinator. But then Fickell found and groomed that guy. That's a Fickell guy. So it's not, you can't say Luke Fickell nothing to do with that. So we need to have that same level of success with these assistants he has right now in Madison. We need to, Devin to keep that running back room cranking. You need Blazek to, keep moving along in a very tough situation. We don't need to get into too much about losing our left tackle for the year, but people were saying, are you feeling bummed about the portal? No, I don't feel bummed at all about the portal. At all. I felt horrified losing Kevin Haywood. That was a much more significant piece of news for the Wisconsin Badgers than all three of these guys combined, and it's not even close.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, it's hard to replace offensive linemen, that's for sure. But the Badgers are going to try. They got guys in the room. It's just we're gonna see how it works out, right? We're gonna see how
we're going to try, and we're going to. I feel like there's going to be a portal ad along the line. It might just be a depth piece. But you got Barrett Nelson sliding over there, and he's a very talented kid, but he's untested. I looked at Barrett Nelson's stuff at Vanderbilt. He's got a couple SEC academic all first teams. That's his calling card right now. So I don't know, man. I mean, that's not to shake it, not to make fun of good academics. And Vanderbilt's, of course, a wonderful school, but it's remains to be seen. And if you listen to camp reports, there's a pretty big drop off between the first team and second team on that offensive line this spring. So we shall see, my friend.
I can't wait to find out there. But Scary, hey, I got to run. We are woefully late for a break. Holy crap, we are way late for a break here. But Scary, let everybody know where to find you out there because you got great stuff across social media. Let them know where to find you.
Yeah, look, I got a podcast. Oh, look, it's out right there in my face. It's called the Scary Alvarez Podcast. It's a fun one. It's on the YouTubes. You got to tune in there. I upload the longer ones with guests to Spotify for those of y'all who like to listen in your car. And I'm on Twitter X, wherever the hell y'all call it nowadays. The kids are calling it, but it's that thing where people complain and bitch about everything. But yeah, man, it's I really appreciate you having me on, and I'm happy to jump on and share my opinions. But I despite the sad day with the portal stuff and the stuff with Haywood, I like the vibes in that room right now for this football team. I'll leave it at that.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it there. We're going to have you back here pretty soon, Scary. We're going to have to talk more Badgers here because we got Badger football. The transfer portal is just opening up, right? So we got to talk Badger football, transfer portal. We got Badger basketball, all kinds of stuff we can talk about there. So once again, thanks for coming on there. We'll catch you back here another time. But hey, we'll be back after a quick break here. We got more talk to get to. We got Bucks, we got Packers. We got more to get to tonight here. So make sure you are tuning back into the show here when we come back from this break. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. I hope you guys really enjoyed that last segment there with Scary. That was awesome having him on there. Make sure you guys are checking him across social media there. We'll definitely have him back here to talk Badgers at some point in the near future there because that was awesome. That was awesome. Ran a little bit longer there before the commercial break there, so that was awesome, though. We got a lot covered in a short amount of time there. But hey, we got to flip to another commercial break here just because, you got to meet the quota, right? So we got to hit another commercial break here. We're going to come back. Kyle's going to join me. We're going to talk Bucks because Bucks Pacers coming up here in this next weekend. So oh my God, it's right around the corner. We got playoff basketball in the NBA. We want to get to that. We got NBA. We're going to talk NBA. We're going to talk Bucks. We're going to talk about it all. Kyle's going to be joining us. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage after this quick message from our sponsors. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back. It is April 16th, a fantastic April 16th. And this next segment of the show is sponsored by a great sponsor of ours, Marshfield Motor Speedway, the half-mile paved track just 3 miles west of Marshfield on County Road H. Find upcoming events and races at marshfieldspeedway.com. That is marshfieldspeedway.com there. So I got Kyle with me tonight here from Chomping at the Bit podcast over there. Kyle, how we doing on this Wednesday?
I'm good. You know, it's playoff basketball time. I love this time of the year, and I'm excited to talk about it once again with you. So, yeah, can't complain at all.
Stoked. I'm stoked. We're just stoked. Playoff basketball is right around the corner here in the NBA, so we cannot wait. We cannot wait here. But before we get there, like you guys, I mentioned earlier in the show there, Aaron, he's had but other obligations, right? So he's had to step away from the show here for the foreseeable future. But hey, we still got to do the Mellow Yellow Minute. So Kyle will be a part of the Mellow Yellow Minute tonight here. I've heard this stupid thing, Kyle. It drives me nuts. Scientists have brought back the dire wolf. It's like a 3-foot tall dog that, I mean, it's bigger than a wolf. Let's go with that. It's bigger than the biggest wolf. I don't know why we need. If anybody has watched the Game of Thrones, which I made it through like 2 episodes, I try to watch it. I really do. I sit down and I'm like, I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones, and I get through 2 episodes, and that's it, like, as far as I can make it. But anyways, the dire wolf is in Game of Thrones, so they bring back this dire wolf. And I don't know why. It seems like this is not going. What is the benefit? I always want to figure out what the benefit is. What's the benefit of bringing back a 3-foot tall wolf? We need more predators in the wild. I have no idea. What is the benefit? I know. But we bring it back. So I'm going to ask Kyle here tonight. Kyle, what animals, let's go top 3.
Okay.
Would Trage bring back if he could?
I'm gonna throw out one. Yeah, I'm gonna throw out this guess. I'm gonna go the Tasmanian tiger.
That is a bold take. That would be awesome. I would take. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'd bring the Tasmanian tiger back. I'd bring him back. I like that one. I'd bring him back there. We'll say number 3. That'd be my top. That'd be the third. That'd be my third.
I feel like another one is one that most people kind of think of, only because like the name's kind of fun to say. It's got to be the dodo.
Oh, that's number 1. Oh my God. I was talking to my grandma. I was talking to my cousin about this, that I'm like, why do you bring back a dire wolf? Bring back something funny, like the dodo bird.
Yeah.
It has no point to the dodo bird. It just waddles around. It just makes a lot of noise. It made me laugh in the movie Up. What else do you want? Like that, a dodo bird. That's what we need. I'm all for the dodo bird. Number 1 on the list. You want to bring something back? Bring back the dodo bird.
Next guess, I could go a couple of ways with this, but I think for like sheer shock value, the woolly mammoth. Because you imagine one of those walking around, how people would freak out. So I'd go with that.
I'd take the woolly mammoth. I would. I've heard that scientists told me that it would benefit global warming. I don't know what that means. It would, like, they stomp ice down. I don't know. The people tell me things, and I'm like, why don't we just send people up there with jackhammers then? I have no idea. I feel like it'd be the same. It'd be a trade-off. Why do we need a woolly mammoth when we have jackhammers? I don't know. All I know is I've watched Jurassic Park. Well, there has to be a limit on what we bring back, because there's a reason why they make movies like that, so we don't make dinosaurs. That's the darn truth. Because guess what? It didn't go well. They made a movie about it, and as much as they put a cage around a T-Rex, it always ended up finding its way out. That's all I know, so we need to avoid that at all costs. So there you go. Mellow Yellow Minute there with Kyle tonight here. That was fantastic there, Kyle. So I want to get over to the Bucks. Let's talk a little Bucks. Let's talk a little NBA. We're going to carry this on. I mean, we're nearing the top of the show here, but we might carry this over into the second hour of the show there. Make sure you guys know, like I always tell you guys, goodness gracious, we're on for 2 hours now. So don't turn your dial off. Don't turn it off. If you're in a car, maybe drive around the block one more time. I don't know. Just stay in your car. That's what you got to do. You got to check out the second hour of the show here. So, Kyle, I saw this question, and I had to ask it. Budenholzer got fired down in Phoenix. Doc's kind of like, Buck fans don't really want Doc anymore. They're kind of like, let's get rid of Doc. I don't know how Giannis feels. We actually, the only reason why Doc's still there is because Giannis still wants him. But if you're the Bucks, do you flirt with the idea of we haven't really been the same since Budenholzer left? Do you flirt with the idea of maybe a reunion with Budenholzer, letting Doc walk out the door, go on his way? You've had your day. It hasn't been well. I mean, what part of this Bucks tenureship for Doc Rivers has been good? I don't know.
Right.
Somebody tell me that. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you flirt with the idea of Budenholzer coming back? I don't know. It's feel like it's a love-hate relationship at this point.
Yeah.
Like, can you, right? I think the players still, I think he still like the players. Like we saw Giannis and him kind of chatting it up on the sideline. Giannis made sure to go say hi and everything like that. But in your opinion, do you bring Budenholzer back or do you just kind of let that one walk away?
I think the Bucks let that one walk away because when I look at Budenholzer, I look at Doc, I feel like they're kind of similar in the fact that when people look at Doc's coaching record, your first thought is, man, that Celtics championship he led them to in 08 was a long time ago. And it's like he's dragged every bit of juice out of that. I think with Budenholzer, when you look at it, it's like, in Atlanta, he had a 60-win team, but then they quickly went off the cliff after that, led to him being relieved. Then he's with the Bucks, and they up and win a title with him. But it seemed like it was kind of going downhill from there. So it's either Budenholzer needs a certain type of team or whatever. I don't think you go back to Budenholzer because I think you're almost getting more of the same that you have with Doc. I think the Bucks kind of have to swing for the fences. Like you have some big names out there. Mike Malone's out there. I don't know. I mean, I guess the question would be Mike Malone and Giannis, would they mesh well? I think for Giannis, he just wants somebody who's going to get this team back to winning. Like that's Giannis's drive amongst all this. He won one, he wants another one. So I would pass on Budenholzer and maybe try for a Mike Malone or Taylor Jenkins, like somebody who would bring something different. I think Budenholzer is just extending out what you had with Doc and what you had with Budenholzer before.
I like Mike Malone. I think he demands a hardworking group, and I think that's what kind of led to his demise. The players didn't. They're like, "Oh, you're being too tough," right? And that's where I think a lot of these coaches kind of run into a wall nowadays. Giannis seems like a guy, like you said, he just wants to win, and he wants to work hard to get there. And I think that bodes well for a guy like Mike Malone coming. So I agree with that. I like that move. Can you handle another Adrian Griffin move, right? They get Adrian Griffin. He does well, but they don't like him. So then they move on from him. They bring in a guy like Doc halfway through, right? You have a winning record. You move on from him. You haven't had that same kind of record since then. So what was the problem? I think the Bucks need to come back to what's the problem? What's the real problem? Don't keep looking at coaches and saying that head coaches are our problem. Let's find the root of the problem. Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking crazy. Maybe I'm talking crazy for a second here, Kyle. But I think there's a deeper rooted problem than let's just keep kicking the head coaches out the door. Because if Adrian Griffin had a very good record, and then when he left, it went sideways, what's the problem? I don't know. It might be a common theme of you let one guy make all the decisions for this basketball team, and maybe he might have the best interest in mind, but at the same time, sometimes what he wants is not the best. Just a thought. Just a thought. I don't know if it's a great thought. I don't know if you want to tick off Giannis in the process, but just a thought, in my opinion there. So, Kyle, we saw that altercation between Malik Beasley and Giannis over the weekend. And I guess I just want to get your take on it from the outside perspective. Looking at it, was Giannis out of line? Was Beasley out of line? Was anybody really out of line? Because we saw it after the game there. Beasley took to Twitter, and then the next day they were buddy fine again. Was it just an overreaction, or are guys they reach a peak with Giannis's goofiness? And because we've seen it with Jaylen Brown too, right? I mean, you saw it with your Celtics there with Brown. He didn't really take really kindly to Giannis. He's a goof, right? Is that a problem? Is that becoming a problem around the league in your eyes?
No, I don't think so. I feel like people kind of know how to deal with Giannis and what aspect of him you kind of take seriously as opposed to what you don't. I think that he and Beasley, I feel like that was like a no. It was a non-factor. I feel like it was probably a bit of an overreaction, but it's kind of seems like it's something that Giannis does where he likes to be a troll at times. So he has this part of him where he will try to kind of get under people's skin, and it usually just annoys them. Because we saw it. I mean, you brought up Jaylen Brown. He also had it with Al Horford. So I think it's just part of who he is. I feel like it doesn't become a problem if he tries to be somebody that he isn't. And I think around the league, he's probably well respected for, his work ethic and, his ability, the uniqueness of his skill set. But I do think little things like this becomes a regular occurrence. Like that is something that can kind of like hurt your stance around the league. And look, it may get to the point where some players may be like, yeah, I wouldn't play in Milwaukee because of Giannis's, I don't know if you want to call it childish or whatever part of him. Yeah. So I think that's going to be something interesting to see, the next coming years, if we start seeing like free agents not wanting to go there. In the back of your mind, you might have to wonder, does Giannis put people off? So I think he and Beasley is a non-factor right now, but now it is something you might have to think about going forward.
I think it's just kind of crazy because it's just fun, right? It'd be different if he was trash talking. He's not really trash. Like he's not doing it. These guys have got to know he's not doing it to trash talk you. He's just doing it to have good fun, because why not have fun playing the game you love? That's the way he wants to play it. And I just, like you said, and guys take exception. Guys get a little, irritated by it. They're maybe not having a good day. It comes all back, and you just hope that it doesn't drive guys away, because they're like, the leader of that team is kind of a child, and it's like, it's a good time though. So hopefully they think business and not childish. I don't know at the end of the day there, but I completely agree with you that it was an overreaction, I would say, on both sides of it there. Giannis didn't really care. Like, he kind of just moved on from it. Beasley freaked out on Twitter, and then the next day was like, oh, we're good, right? Gave a hug, everything. Dame and him, we're all good. So, I mean, we're glad to see it. Glad to see it there. So I was looking at, and just before, we got to get to the break here pretty soon, and then we'll talk a little bit more on the backside of that break there. But looking at the Bucks and this hot streak that they've been on, right? Going into the playoffs here. They had an 8-game win streak heading into the playoffs, end of the season, 2 straight wins against the Pistons there. They had a huge win against the Timberwolves. I don't think there's enough people talking about that game against the Timberwolves where they had a 24-point run there. They 39-8 in the last 10 minutes was the margin there. I mean, that's nuts. Something you don't hear about in the NBA too often. 39-8, that run that they put on. At one point, it was a 23-0 run or something like that they put together. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's great defense. That's great on the Bucks all the way around. You did it without Dame. I mean, I'm looking at this last little run they put together, that 8-game win streak without Dame. That's the big thing. That's the key ticker that I want to put into this. How much stock, in your opinion, do you put into that 8-game win streak? Because for me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, it speaks volumes to me because you're going into the playoffs hot, but you proved to me that you can win without Dame. You can beat some competitive teams, right? The Timberwolves, the Pistons twice, right? You beat some competitive teams. The second game against the Pistons didn't really matter because nobody was really playing. But the game before that, yes, you're still playing for seeding, everything like that. So, I mean, you beat some good teams along the way. You beat some teams that were but you also, in those games, saw some of these guards take a step, right? Porter take a step, Rollins take a step. So in your opinion, how big or how, impactful are these last 8 games for the Bucks heading into the playoffs there on that 8-game win streak?
Yeah, look, you definitely want to go in with some momentum on your side, get some good play on tape before you get into the second season. And I think with this team especially, because we know Dame won't be available at least early on in the playoffs, it gives Doc and the evaluators on the team a chance to see, who could fill those Dame minutes in a playoff situation going forward. Because regular season is one thing, but playoffs are a completely different animal where you're dealing with, hostile environments when you're on the road, you're at home. raucous crowds that are expecting you to play a certain way, that can be overwhelming to certain players. So, you might gain some confidence in some of these guys with their play during this stretch that, you put them on the court in the postseason. Maybe they play a little bit better. Their intensity is a little bit higher. Their awareness is a little bit, more there, is a little bit more aware as to the situation on the court. So, yeah, going into the playoffs on a hot streak is nothing to necessarily look past, because good play and momentum can carry you through a first-round series against an opponent where you might be evenly matched and you're looking for just that little bit of an edge that could lead you into a series win. So, yeah, there's definitely nothing bad about going into the playoffs on a hot streak.
Love that. And you hit a key point in there, talking about some of the guards getting some very good minutes there over that 8-game stretch. So I want to talk more about that when we come back here. We got Kyle. He's going to be back here at the top side of the hour here. We're going to talk more Bucks. We're going to talk NBA playoffs. Can't wait to talk about it. We'll be back here after this quick commercial break. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back. It's hour 2 of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. We got Kyle here tonight. We're already talking Bucks. We were talking Bucks right before there. So if you missed any of the show, make sure you go back, listen, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, you can find the show there. You just got to search Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. You can find us there. Like, subscribe, follow. We love you if you do it there. That'd be awesome there. You can also find us across social media. You can find us anywhere from Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. You can find us on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. Just search Wisco Sports on the Go. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. Just search Wisco Sports on the Go with Trage. That's Wisco Sports on the Go with Trage. Or you can shoot us a text. You want to text us? Let us know what you're thinking. Hit us up there, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914 there. So we went to the break. We were talking about that 8-game win streak the Bucks were on heading into the playoffs there. And Kyle brought up a great point there, talking about the guards, right? And, Porter has been, I don't know what happened, but he meshed, and what he has been able to bring to this Bucks team, I didn't expect it, to be honest with you, but he has been fantastic as of late here for the Bucks. And I mean, Rollins has been good too. Don't get me wrong. Ryan Rollins has been good too, but Porter has been fantastic. And I loved what you stated there when you said getting these guys valuable minutes heading into the playoff series, not just, scrap time behind Dame, whatever it is. No, Dame was out. So now we know, hey, this is the roster we got. Like, this is what we got. Bobby came back, and they knew then this is what we got. And I love that. And I love that point that you brought up there. So I can't wait to see it there. And that's the big thing, right? No Dame to start the playoffs. Do we believe that these other guards can fill that role somehow, some way? Do you think it's going to be a collective effort that they have to go with, to fill that role? Or is it going to be, do you see one guy that can kind of stand out for the rest? What are you seeing right now, Kyle, from this Bucks roster where these guards are going to have to fill a pretty big void?
Yeah, well, look, the keys to them is going to be, don't think you have to be Dame Lillard. Like, whether it's Rollins or Porter Jr., it's like, be the best version of yourself, but understand that when it's the playoffs, each possession takes on a different life. The runs and everything like that are things you have to manage. So if you're going to throw Porter or Rollins out there, the confidence has to be not only within Doc, but the player, that they deserve those minutes. And confidence alone can take you far. So what they have to do is, look, they got to play off of Giannis. Giannis becomes a bigger focal point. So if Giannis kicks it out to you, confidently take your shot, no hesitation, because all that does is then put a seed of doubt in Giannis or whoever the player is, in that if I dribble drive and I kick it out to you, if you're not going to be ready, now we have to reset, and it just puts more of a burden on everybody. So if those guys can go out there and play free and easy, they'll probably be better off. It's if they feel like they need to be Dame Lillard, that's where the issues may start. So, yeah, you got to do it by committee. One guy's got it going. You leave him out there extended minutes. If not, put in the other guy. Just kind of manage it that way. and piece your way through these games right now until Dame can come back.
I love that. Don't be more than what you are, right? Do what you got you here, right? Kevin Porter has been fantastic filling in the role and just utilizing him alongside Giannis, not trying to be too much, just trying to be himself, using him off of ball screens, whatever it is, cutting to the basket. He's been fantastic. Rollins has been fantastic passing the basketball along with that. So, I mean, yes, I completely agree with you. It's like, don't be what you're not. Don't try to be Dame. Don't try to fill that void. Don't try to play hero ball. Just be the player that got you to this point. So I completely agree there. Jericho Sims also, Doc did say that Jericho Sims will be ready for the playoffs. So that's huge, right? Getting an athletic big back for the playoffs behind Brook Lopez there. Now, you already have Bobby, right? But you want to get Jericho Sims back and healthy. So you love to see that. I'm looking at this Bucks team, and I'm going to ask you, Kyle, what role player or players, right, in your eyes, have to come up big for the Bucks in the playoffs if they want to not just get past the Pacers, but maybe even have a chance to, once they get past the Pacers, get into a playoff series and play well, right? They're looking at right now, where would they go? They got the Pacers and then probably the Cavs, right? So it's going to be a tough series. What role player, if not more role players, need to step up big time for the Bucks to not just beat the Pacers, but to try and put on a playoff run?
I mean, look, the safe answer would be you need all of them because you don't have Dame. And to a further extent, this is a run where you don't have Chris Middleton to rely on as well. So the spotlight will be on Kuzma. That's the guy you went out and got for Middleton for a reason. That's the guy who was supposed to bring in like an infusion of youth. So, he struggled against Indiana during the regular season, averaging like 9 points. He can't be a 9 point per game guy in the 7-game set. He has to turn his game up to a level that kind of justifies the trade. Because if he no-shows this, fans will just look at it and say, we could have kept Middleton if this is what we're going to get from Kuzma. And for Kuzma, he can't put pressure on himself. Like, that's going to be the key. Because Kuzma's been kind of outside of the playoff picture for a few years, being in Washington or whatever. He can't try to put too much on himself as well. Now, his expectations and his responsibility, that is raised at a point because without Dame, he's now your number 2 option. And he's going to have to play like that. Like, he's going to have to be able to take advantage of mismatches that present themselves against a Pacers team that defensively can kind of go through some ebbs and flows with it. And if he can do that, then that gives the Bucks a better shot at it. So I'm going to say Kuzma has to be that role player to step up because of the trade and everything, he's the guy that's going to be looked at to fill that vacancy from Lillard the most.
Okay, I love that. I love that there. I would go along the same route. If Kuzma doesn't take that step forward to be that guy, I mean, you're relying on what? Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis at that point there. Maybe a guy you could almost say you need a guy like Porter or Rollins, one of those two to take a step forward, maybe one night, and then the other guy takes a step forward next night. Like, you need guys to show up.
Yeah.
But Kuzma's got to be a mainstay. You got to have stars that what they're going to give you, if maybe not 40, right? But they're going to give you 20. You got to have guys like that in that rotation. And I completely agree. I think Kuzma is definitely going to be one of those guys for the Bucks there. So if the Bucks fail, I don't know if I want to get to the fail part first there or what, but I guess this is where a lot of Bucks fans are worried about. So I want to maybe put their minds at ease, right? Maybe you'll put their minds at ease. Maybe you'll freak them out even more going into this playoff series. But if the Bucks fail to advance in the playoffs, are you worried about Giannis? Because I've seen a lot of people talking, like we saw, what was it, Marcus Morris, who is on ESPN now, whatever he does. And he was talking about Giannis to the Heat. Now I'm like, shut it. No, he's not going to the Heat. But I mean, are you worried about Giannis if you're a Bucks fan? If the Bucks fail once again to move on in the playoffs, get deep into the playoffs, are you worried about Giannis and his future with the Milwaukee Bucks? Do you think he's going to try and ask out?
I think you have to, only because since they've won the title, like every offseason that they haven't won a title, those rumors have been there. Whether it's, reading between the lines of stuff that Giannis says on a podcast or in an interview, or the fear of a smaller market with a big name, in that, what if we don't win 4 or 5 years in a row? And in Giannis's mind, he thinks he's done all he can in Milwaukee. How does Milwaukee combat that? So if they come up short, and if it's a first round exit, then yeah, you might have to hit the panic button, because you just don't know what Giannis is thinking. Because as we said earlier, Giannis wants to win. So Giannis doesn't want to. You don't want Giannis to wake up one morning and say, "I'm in Milwaukee. We won one a couple of years ago, but I don't think we could win another one. So why would I stay around?" So yeah, I think you do have to worry about it.
Okay. Well, did not put the Bucks fans' minds at ease, but that's okay here. So we got the Bucks and the Pacers, right? Coming up here on Saturday. It'll be the kickoff to the NBA playoffs coming up on Saturday there. The 19th, game 1 at 12 o'clock there. Pacers coming in 50-32, Bucks 48-34. Not much to really talk about record-wise, because records get tossed out the window when we hit the playoffs. So right now, looking at the head-to-head, right? The Bucks, they won the first matchup they won the first matchup of the year, won the second matchup, lost the third matchup, won the fourth matchup of the year there. So they fared fairly well, I guess you could say, against the Pacers this season, but the Pacers still coming in with the better overall record on the season. Kyle, I mean, we're looking at this matchup here. What are some of your thoughts? What is some of your thoughts heading into this matchup for the Bucks? What do they got to do against this Pacers team to get the win, to pull it out? Game 1's important, right? Yeah. Game 1's important, especially because it's on the road. Stealing one on the road and setting the tone early in the playoffs, that would be massive. What's some keys you got for the Bucks here heading into this playoff series?
So I think for the Bucks, when you look at these two teams, the Pacers want to play fast, because, you look at their talent. They have Halliburton, who I think Halliburton is his most effective when you're running and gunning. He can get his assists and everything like that. The trail three. So if I'm Doc and I'm looking at this, I need my bigs to stay attached to Turner and Toppin. Both those guys shoot over 35% from three. I think between the two of them, they average like 10 threes a game. And I think they shoot like 40% between the two of them. So when you're getting into pick and roll action with Halliburton, it's normally going to be Toppin or Turner. And that's where Portis, Lopez, even Sims, these guys have to be aware that if they are late in their rotation or the communication's not there, Toppin and Turner are capable 3-point shooters. So that's my first one. The second key we kind of touched on, without Dame, who steps their game up? And I think we went over the cast of characters. Kuzma has to. Porter Jr. needs to. I mean, Portis, came back not that long ago. You're now going to ask him to do more. Brook Lopez has to be more of a presence as well. And it doesn't need to be the same guy. Like, each game can be different. Like, you can look at it and be like, game 1 was the Kuzma game. Game 2 was the Porter game. You just need somebody to step up and not look at it as Giannis has to go for like 50 every game, because that's asking a lot. So you need somebody to step up there. Then Doc, because of the landscape of the coaching scene in the NBA, Doc has to feel pressure. And then with that, will he kind of go down swinging on old habits? Because the book on Doc is he's not really one for adjustments. He has his game plan, and he's just going to stick to it. I think in a series like this, especially if you are able to steal a game on the road against the Pacers, I would want to see what does Doc do in that situation. Because once again, no Dame, rotations can't be set. Like a Taurean Prince, I hammer on him a lot, but if he doesn't have it, Doc needs to have a quick hook and get somebody else in there. You can't run Prince out 30 minutes a game to score 2, 4, 6 points. I think in a series like this, you're kind of being counterproductive. So I want to see if Doc's going to be slow to adjustments, or will he be on it knowing that he's kind of coaching for his life with the Bucks right now.
I like that. That's some of the best keys he could have came up with there. Who's going to step up? And well, it's got to be the players plus Doc. Yeah. Doc has got to be better if the Bucks want to move on in this one. Kyle, gut feeling. I know we're going to talk next week about the Bucks because the playoff series will still be going on, but gut feeling game one, what do you got? Bucks, Pacers, who do you got in that one there? Coming up 12 o'clock there on ESPN.
So I think for the home teams, game one is the road team's best shot. So if the Bucks are going to steal one in Indy, game one is their opportunity. And with it being a bit of an early start, you don't know. The Pacers may be overly hyped. They could come out playing, a little bit undisciplined, because that is one thing I want to watch with the Pacers when they play at a fast pace. That doesn't mean they could be wild and crazy with the ball, because the last thing you want is Giannis running free in transition, because there's very few who can stop that man once he gets going downhill. So if the Pacers want to play fast, they have to be smart with the ball. No turnovers to give the Bucks easy buckets. So if the Bucks can make the game close in game one, I think they would have a chance to steal it, because looking on the court, Giannis is the best player. NBA, you usually go with the best player on the court. So that's what I'm looking for in game one. The Pacers will have their moment where they get their run and the crowd's into it. But can the Bucks kind of counter that and stay within reach late in the game? I think that would give them their best chance to win a game one, especially as the road team.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to take Bucks. I got Bucks game one. They got to. They just have to. I just got that feeling with them. I just got that feeling the Bucks will take game one down there. So, hey, we got to get – we are woefully late for a break, but I don't want to get out of here before I ask you this one question here. What game are you most looking forward to, I guess, in the first round of the playoffs there? What's that one matchup where you're like, I can't wait for this matchup to get going there? I don't know if it's going to be your Celtics and the Magic down there, because I don't know if that's going to be the highlight one, but which matchup, West, East, which one are you looking at and you're like, I can't wait for that playoff series to get started?
I mean, I think there are some good series, but I'm interested in Pistons-Knicks. I've been thoroughly surprised by this Pistons team. I want to see what does this young group do in a playoff setting. I want to see what Cade Cunningham does. I think for a lot of people, this will be their first time seeing Cade Cunningham on a stage like this. And he has an opportunity to kind of let people know the talent that he has. And you're dealing with a Knicks team that has a lot of pressure on themselves as well. Because the same thing we talk about the Bucks. If the Pistons can go into New York and steal a game, the amount of pressure that's going to be on that Knicks team, like that's going to be something to watch. Because the Pistons, they don't have any expectations. So they can go out there, play their game. If they get swept, so what? That's probably what some people expect. But if they make this a 6-7 game series, they may be able to pull this one off. Because like I said, the Knicks have so much pressure being in New York. All the years that Knicks fans have been waiting for something. And this group where you make that cat deal, you got Jalen Brunson, you go get Mikal Bridges. Like, you did all this to win now. And if you go out in the first round, like, that is a big thing to deal with. So that's the series I'm watching.
I like that. New York would implode. It would just implode, and it would be awesome. It'd be like when the Yankees lost in the World Series. It'd just be icing on the cake at this point here. So, Kyle, thank you as always for coming and joining us tonight here. The people, they want to find you out there chomping at the bit's the best place to do it across Twitter, social, everywhere on social media. Just search chomping at the bit. You will find Kyle out there. But hey, until next week, thank you, Kyle, for coming on here. We'll catch you guys. We're gonna be right back here. We got Brewer Talk. We got Umar is coming up after the break here. We're going to be talking Packers. Then we got Brewer Talk. We have so much more to get to. We can't wait to talk about it here. So we'll be back on the backside of this ad break here. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back here on this Wednesday. And hey, this next segment of the show is sponsored by Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood, Wisconsin. Their expert traditional physical therapy and structural integration programming. Call for flexible scheduling and evaluations. Just call Chad down there at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. He'll get you right. He'll get you back to doing whatever you're doing, feeling better than ever. That is Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood there. So, hey, I told you before we went to the break, we just had Kyle on. We were talking Bucks. We were talking NBA. We had all kinds of madness happening over there. We got Ummer coming on here. Now I got it. I nailed it.
You nailed it. That was perfect.
I was ready for it this time there. I got Ummer here tonight. We're going to be talking Packers because we got to get ready. The draft is coming up next week. We got to be talking about the Packers here tonight, sir. Ummer, how we doing on this Wednesday?
I'm great, man. I am great. Just enjoying myself right now. A little vacation in Charleston, South Carolina. So just taking in the sights and sounds with the family and just really, taking a seat back and just enjoying myself. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. The weather here, how's the weather in Charleston? Is it better than what
beautiful.
we got up here?
It's beautiful. It's between 70s and 80s. A little wind, but for the most part, it's great weather. That's why we drove down.
We get like 30 degrees in the morning and like 60 in the afternoon. So it's that time of year where you like heat to AC. I love the time of year when you have to get into your vehicle and you have the heat on in the morning. And then when you get back into the afternoon, you have to turn the AC on and drive home. That's my time of year. That is my time of year.
Okay.
Right there.
All right. Yeah. I know it's like in between winter and like spring.
Yes.
Exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
Yep. The morning you got frost. The afternoon it's like, oh, it's hot again. All right, here we go. So we got lots to get into today. We were talking about last week. Talked a little bit about the Jair situation. We had all kinds of stuff we got into today. So according to Tom Silverstein, I saw this. Packers are still they're looking to trade Jair Alexander. They're looking to trade or release, but preferably trade, right? They don't want to just release Jair. They want to get something back from him. But the problem is coming down to salary and the unwillingness of Jair to adjust that contract ahead. That's what's really hindering all these deals right now. Most likely a trade's going to happen, but it's probably going to be after the draft. So we're looking more after the draft right now, after everybody's kind of, well, what do we need now? Okay, we still need Jair Alexander. Now we go get him. So that's kind of where we're at with the Jair situation. But I wanted to ask you, so the Packers, we look at what the Bears have done this offseason. They've made some big ads, right? Offensive line was the big need for them. They're up the gut because Caleb Williams was constantly under distress last season. This season, they go and they grab a bunch of offensive line help. The Lions, they've added depth. They've added depth on the defense. They've loaded up. And just getting healthy, if you are the Detroit Lions, is already a boost, right? You're getting 8 nudges at back. You're getting a lot of boost from there. And then the Vikings, that defense has just got everybody at this point on that defense for the Vikings. So, I mean, in your opinion, these rosters, we look at those rosters, they've definitely improved, right? Some solid moves. They've definitely improved this last offseason here. Do you believe that talent-wise, the Packers are keeping pace? Like, are they there with these teams right now? Are they keeping pace talent-wise at all with the likes of the Bears, the Lions, and Vikings? Or do you believe the Packers need to do more?
I think that it's really easy for people to like look at like the big spending that's been done by the Vikings and the Bears and a little bit by also the Lions too, to be like, oh wait, the Packers aren't doing enough. And seeing last year where we ended on a losing streak and we lost to the Bears, we got swept by the Lions and the Vikings. It can be really easy to say that we're not on the same talent level. I just want people to go back and look at those games. We didn't lose. Like when we lost against Detroit, we had a lot of injuries on the offensive line at home, and then we played them in Detroit. You know what? We lost by 3 points. Minnesota, both games we started out slow, but we were able to come back in the end and make it a game and almost win each game, and they were less than a touchdown loss for both those games. Bears, they needed everything to go in their favor when it comes to injuries and just a punt return for a touchdown, all kinds of crazy stuff for them to come back and squeak out a win. So in my mind, for us to be in such a disjointed state as a team, I feel like talent-wise, we are right there with them. I feel like Vikings are smart. They're taking advantage of their rookie quarterback that they have right now. They had an opportunity to bring in Aaron Rodgers and do like a one-year run, but they said, forget that. We're going to take advantage of this rookie contract, because we all know that when you have a good quarterback and they hit that second contract, you're looking at between 15 to almost 23% of your salary cap gone right there based on the quarterback market, right? And so they're taking advantage of it. They powered up their offensive line. They went and brought in Jordan Mason from the Niners. And on top of that, too, their defense being ran by Flores. I really don't care who they have back there. Flores is probably one of the best defensive minds that we have in the NFL right now. He's the reason why that the Patriots won the Super Bowl against the Rams back in when was that? That was like 2020. I think it was like 2021. It was a while ago. It feels like it's been like a decade, even though it's not been that long. And I feel like when you look at the way everybody in our division, they haven't gotten worse. They've gotten better. And again, the Bears are the Bears. We always say the Bears still suck. That's our thing. Hashtag Bears still suck. Shout out to Matt Ramage. But one of those things, like no matter, they did do the right moves. I'm not sold on Ben Johnson yet. But the way they kind of beefed up that offensive line, the way they're giving Caleb every opportunity to be able to have the protection he needs, to be able to play behind a good offensive line, have the time to make right decisions, it could work out. Me personally, I believe in LaFleur. I do believe in Jordan Love. I believe in our team. I want Goody to really he's really locked in his last couple of drafts. I want him to continue that. And I feel like this draft, with the talent that we have coming out, it's going to be really interesting to see like which way we go. Like I know like Goody's thing is trying to get more picks. Who knows if he decides to trade up or trade down and acquire more picks or use picks to get a guy that he really likes. But I really can't wait to see how this team like shapes up. And the Jair thing that you just mentioned, I thought that was really interesting that Tom Silverstein actually reported that. That's something that Domofsky has been reporting for long. I want to give people to back off Domofsky. People are trying to say that these beat writers, especially, Rob, are like coming at him for a personal vendetta, and it's just not true. I really feel like they're just reporting the news and they're reporting exactly what's given to them. Wildy does the exact same thing. They do add their own like personal thoughts on things, but for the most part, they do basically give them what's being given to them. And I feel it's unfair to be like, oh, they have like a vendetta against somebody. At the end of the day, Jair's not happy. The Packers aren't happy. We keep him. I would love that. If you get some kind of compensation from him, that would be great. Looks like that's where we're going towards. He just needs to figure out how he wants. He's earned that contract. I don't blame him for not wanting to budge on that. But if he really wants to leave, then he's going to have to make some concessions to make that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think a problem with, like you mentioned, their beat writers, I think a problem is some give bad names to others, right? You get one guy who goes against, just to say Aaron Rodgers, right? He's always got something against Aaron Rodgers. Well, that puts everybody else then, Rob and Tom or whoever under 100%. This microscope that you just don't like this guy. Well, no, technically, probably not, right? You probably don't like this guy, but you're not saying it because I don't like him. I'm saying it because it's the news. So like you said, I mean, it is news, right? Because I did see Tom Silverstein was the one who reported it. I saw Rob was the one who shared it. So Rob's like, I just want everybody to know this is what he said too. So like, we're all saying the same thing right now. And I mean, it's common knowledge, I guess, is like, we knew this was a possibility. We knew this is something they wanted to do. It was just a matter of when, and it was there. This is what we want. If we can do it, we want to get it done. So that's kind of what we got reported there. I like what you said there. You have a lot of teams in the North right now with a lot to prove, right? Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, they have a lot to prove. Ben Johnson did great with the Lions. What is he going to do with the Bears? Caleb Williams had a good season. What does he do now? That's what we got to see. What does Goff do? What does this Lions offense do without Ben Johnson? What do they do without the defense, without, Aaron Glenn on the defense? What do you do without him? It's a question mark after question mark. JJ McCarthy, what's the question mark with Minnesota? How is that going to look? You can put all the right guys in the right spot, but okay, does it work, right? And that's what we're going to find out. The Packers have been staying like they're the most uniform team yet. They didn't lose a lot. Jeff Hafley's still coming back. You got Matt LaFleur yet in the room. He's still the play caller, even though some wish he wasn't the play caller. He's still the play caller. You still got those guys there. So you're keeping that team knit together. Now it's a question of, do they progress? Because I thought, to me, that's where the Packers lacked last season. Was from year to year, they did not progress. I thought guys actually got worse. Jaden Reed, I thought he took a step back. Dontavian Wicks thought he took a step back. You can't really, Romeo Doubs got hurt twice, concussion twice. You can't really knock him on that. Watson got banged up. Can't really blame him on that. You didn't have Musgrave for most of the season. He was out there, but he comes back. He's a huge threat. They underutilize him. They underutilize what they have with Tucker Kraft. I mean, you look at what the Chiefs do with Travis Kelce. And I said, look what the Packers could do with Tucker Kraft. This guy is an all-around talent. He could be one of the best tight ends in football. You got to utilize him in the right way. And I think Matt LaFleur, if I had one thing against this play calling, it's that he doesn't utilize the play-action game enough. He says that he does. I don't believe it. I watch it, and I'm like, dude, you don't. You don't utilize play-action enough. Your analytic people might say you do. Bullcrap. I call bullcrap. You have one of the best. Josh Jacobs is a great running back. You have a great tight end in Tucker Kraft. You have wide receivers that can move around in motion like crazy, and yet you don't utilize play action. It drives me nuts. Jordan Love is mobile. If he's not mobile, he's half a quarterback. So then you need to address that right now if he can't become mobile again. But Jordan Love, as we know, is mobile. You got to get him out in space. You got to use play action. That's where I'm at with Matt LaFleur and his play calling, if anybody wants to know. But I mean, looking at this Packers team now, this is like early speculation, right? Everybody does their way too early speculation. We're going to do one before the draft. Where do you have the Packers in the North right now? 1 through 4. Where do you have them fitting in with those teams? Because I know, we go wide spectrum, Eagles, everything like that. I don't want to go wide spectrum right now. Let's go NFC North. Where does this team fit in with the Lions, Vikings, and Bears, in your opinion?
So I'm a perpetual hater of every team in my division. I just am. I just can't help it. And something that you said too about Detroit Lions, where like they literally have a whole new staff there. They did bring back some talent. They have some guys that need to get healthy. And, they did win the division last year. Kudos to them. Dan Campbell is a rah-rah guy that we all love, but it's going to be put up or shut up, because he does have a lot of veteran leadership that's left on the coaching staff. And you get these guys that he's brought in that are going to be the new DC as well as the new OC. These guys have never done that before. It's their first time. And so I'm going to be interested to see like if they can still keep that up, because that could be an issue. I still think the Packers have a chance to win the division. I feel like when it comes to talent, when it comes to the floor, and what you just said about play action, I couldn't agree more. Floor's biggest thing was like, we run play action out of shotgun. And it's when basically a fake handoff and they throw the ball. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really a true play action play.
No.
You're not like under center. You're not, in an I formation or single back. You're doing it out of shotgun. It's the stuff that Rodgers used to do back in the day too, right? Yep. I do feel like from a ranking standpoint, I feel like the Packers are probably tied between Detroit right now, because Minnesota, with everything being said, JJ McCarthy being back there, I understand Aaron Jones. I understand their offense is very potent. They still got Justin Jefferson. But JJ McCarthy is a huge question mark who's coming off a pretty, not devastating knee injury, but a knee injury with the way they went about deciding to repair the meniscus instead of just trimming it. That's a very long rehab process. And because of that, you're looking at a guy who's young, who hasn't had any snaps in the NFL minus maybe some practice. So, yeah, you're going to really depend on that running game and that defense to take over. When it comes to Chicago, you know what? I'm never going to give Chicago their kudos. They could, the year they went to the Super Bowl, I still think they sucked. It's just the way I am. I can't help it. So I still think that even though they did beat us last year in their Super Bowl last week of the season, that was their Super Bowl win. Truth matters that they still got a long ways to go, because to me, when you have a rookie head coach who has a quarterback who has a lot of talent, but again, has freelanced a lot in the last, I want to say probably the last 4 years of his football career. His time was in Oklahoma, his time was in USC, and then now with him being in the NFL, Caleb Williams has not really played within structure. And for Ben Johnson to put him into that structure, it'll be interesting to see if he can do that, because he's a great offensive mind, but being an OC and a head coach, two separate things. And the last thing is I do need the floor. He has Sean Mannion now as a quarterback coach. He had some changes, but for the most part, like you said, the OC, the DC, those guys are returning. I do need the floor to do what you just said when it comes to Kraft. Like Kraft could be our George Kittle. I 100% agree with that. Lucas, when it comes to Musgrave, his ability to not really block very well is something that needs to be worked on. Like he needs to make that, like, it's like kind of like when we first had Aaron Jones as a rookie, and he was terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible at pass blocking. And then all he did was just work on it. He became one of the better pass blockers in our backfield. Musgrave needs to do that, because you can't have a guy out there as big. He's a size speed freak, but if he's out there, more than likely they're not going to be running the ball because he can't block to save his life. It's just the unfortunate truth. And we need more production from our second round pick, because right now Kraft is outplaying him. He should be our starter. He should be our George Kittle. And I couldn't agree more. Like there has to be a step forward, not 2 steps back when it comes to the progression on the offense. This is a third year for Jaden Reed, third year for Wicks. Normally that's when receivers really hit the ground running and they kind of have that explosion as a receiver. Romeo Dobbs needs to get healthy. Watson needs to get healthy. And then honestly, like if we infuse some talent into that room with a rookie, like hopefully Mbuka or maybe even Jaden Higgins, I would be ecstatic about that. But there's a lot of stuff that I think Green Bay was a culprit of their own like demise in a sense where they were their worst enemy. I feel like a
Yep.
lot of these games that we lost, it wasn't because the other team was better than us outright. It was more so that we just didn't play our best game. And the players said all year, they had yet to put a complete game together on offense, on defense, on special teams, right? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how LaFleur can take all the adversity and all the mistakes of last year and make it into something that he can learn from and really take this team to the next level. Because you're honestly, it's been what now? Almost 15 years now since we've been to the Super Bowl. I know like we're in title town, we're spoiled, but Green Bay, there's a reason why that statue is named after our head coach, right? And the LaFleur and Goody especially, I'm not saying like, oh, it's, hot seat. I'm not saying anything like that. I just definitely feel like we need to see something where there's more like this progression in the right direction because our run game is solid. Josh Jacobs, absolutely amazing, but you cannot run him into the ground.
Yep.
I understand like he's built that way, but that is not a recipe for success. And Jordan Love, he needs to also take that next step.
Yep. No, 100% agree. And you hit a couple great points in there. The shotgun, that drives me nuts.
Yes.
Why are we running so much shotgun? Run under
Oh,
center. Because
yes,
Jordan
please.
Love, the things that you can do when you turn your back to a defense are unreal. And Jordan Love has the ability to look guys off and to be able to sell the fake. When you take that away from him in shotgun, that's a problem. You don't give Josh Jacobs time to run downhill. That's a problem. I find all those things problems. So I completely agree with the shotgun take there. Drives me absolutely nuts. And like you said there, like we talked about, guys have got to take a step forward. They have got to take a step forward. The problem, like you mentioned there, pre-snap penalties killed this team. There's a lot of mental mistakes. So if we want to blame Matt LaFleur, if we want to come back to the drawing board, mental mistakes need to be cleaned up because that lost the Packers a lot of football games. And you hit the nail on the head when you said it's put up or shut up time.
Yeah.
Because we can only, and I know fans aren't going to want to hear this one, but Bill Michaels loves to say it all the time too. You can only use the excuse of you're young for so long. You may be young in age, but you're not young in experience. And this Packers team has been to the playoffs twice. They've been there, done that. They have got to be able to get past the first round. They got to be able to move on here. They got to be able to move on and play, like you said, a complete game because last season, there may have been one or two games. The Cardinal game, maybe, where you could have said that was a complete game. But still, I mean, and people want to go back to the Seattle game and say that was complete. That was not complete. There was more that one where they could have done this, but they failed to do that. Late in the game there, they let Seattle come back in that game. It's just there's those little things that this Packers team struggled with last season. And, hey, I mean, we want to get into it all. We got more to get into next week here. Sorry. I had it there. Ummer will be back next week. We have got a special episode coming next week. We're going to talk a lot of Packers. We got draft preview. We're going to talk a lot of Packers on top of that. I cannot wait. We got even more next week coming here. So thank you again for stopping by tonight there, Ummer, and we will catch you back here next week on the show.
I cannot wait, man. Thank you for having me again. I can't wait.
Of course. So, hey, we'll be back here. We're going to talk Brewers on the backside of this break here. So make sure you guys are sticking around. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back. It's April 16th. It's a fantastic April 16th, and spring is here, and you got to get yourself down to Foreman's Hardware there. They offer you everything from home essentials to farm supplies, house to farm, grills to drills. Foreman's Hardware has got you covered. Visit today in Loyal, Colby, or Medford, Wisconsin there. That is Loyal, Colby, or Medford. Tell them Trage sent you. Get 5% off. All your spring needs, you get pavers up there in Colby. You can get grills in Loyal. You can get anything you need in Medford, whatever you need. You can stop at any three of the locations. If they don't have it at one store, they'll get it to you at another. Find them there at Foreman's Hardware there. Tell them Trade sent you, get 5% off. Marshfield Motor Speedway, the half-mile paved track just 3 miles west of Marshfield there on County Road H. Find upcoming events and races at marshfieldspeedway.com. That is marshfieldspeedway.com there. And also Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood, Wisconsin. Their expert traditional physical therapy and structural integration programming. Call for flexible scheduling and evaluations within 24 to 48 hours there. Just call Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin there. So, hey, we just had a great talk with Ummer there. Talking Packers. What a great talk. What a great talk it was there. We got more Packer talk to get into next week here on the show. Probably a lot, right? We're going to be talking draft. We got lots to get into with the Packers. So I can't wait for that coming up next week there. But hey, we got to get to the Brewers here because the Brewers, it's been I don't know what's the best way to put it, right? They've blown some games. that's both the best way to put it. They've blown some games. And a lot of people are not exactly happy, right? You got that lead. You're beating Corbin Burns up. You got that lead over him on this last Saturday. You end up losing that game late, right? And a lot of people look back and they're like, Yoel Payamps, right? He stunk. He stunk again. Yoel Payamps continues to struggle. Then you lose that game to Gallon there on Sunday. Had 2-0 lead there for the longest time, and the Diamondbacks were able to battle back, and they were able to take the lead, and then in the 8th inning, be able to kind of push that lead to 5-2 and take the win there. And then we look over at the game against the Tigers, and that was just disastrous. And you look at what Pat Murphy had to say, and he said, you look at a team where you believe you're supposed to be, pretty darn good. And it's hard to say that when you've been blown out 4 times, right? You lose 9-1 to the Tigers there. You lost 11-1 to the Royals early on. You lost the Yankees 12-3 and 20-9. So it's hard to say that you are a well-rounded good team when you keep getting blown out. So where are you at right now, right? And I think the bullpen is a big concern for me. I didn't think it was going to be a big concern going into the year. We just confidently say to ourselves the Brewers are going to put together a good bullpen. That just seems how it is. They find guys, right? Last year was Brian Hudson and Jared Koenig. Who were those guys before the Brewers got them? Nobody's. This season, they've been pretty good for the Milwaukee Brewers, but now you look at what's been faltering, right? Well, Elvin Rodriguez has definitely struggled for him, and they move on from him. Logan Henderson, number 12 prospect for the Brewers there, has brought up now the right-handed pitcher, so we'll see what they do with him, if he's going to be a bullpen role or kind of what's going to work there. But Yoel Payamps, I don't know, 5 2/3, a 19 earned run. He's given up 12 earned runs on the season so far in 8 games. 8 games pitched, 5 2/3 innings, and he's given up 12 earned runs. 11 hits, 12 earned runs, 1 home run given up. It's just, at what point is enough, and you just kind of got to move off of a guy? And I think that's where the Milwaukee Brewers are at this point. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I get it. You want to keep a guy around, but you have guys in the minors now. Are they ready? I don't know. Craig Yoho, is he ready? I don't know. Is a guy like Mizorowski ready to go into the bullpen? That's a question. Are they trying to ramp him up for a starter role? That could be too. You have guys where they're going to come back and they're going to be able to fit bullpen roles, right? And I don't think Yoel Payamps is I don't think it sucks as much if he's not supposed to be a high leverage guy. But he's supposed to be a high leverage guy. He's supposed to be a late in the game guy for you. Right now, you kind of look at it, Trevor McGill, he's got that knee problem right now. Hopefully, that's all going to get figured out there. You have McGill. Nick Mears has been fantastic since coming back. So you have Mears, you have McGill, you have guys like Uribe has been fantastic. Jared Koenig, Brian Hudson, you got those guys. But they expect Yoel Payamps to be a guy. And it just hasn't been there. It's been like this for a couple years now. When he first came in to Milwaukee, he was fantastic, right? We know that. He's fantastic with the Brewers. That was back in 2023. He had 69 games pitched, and he had 2.55 ERA. He was fantastic. 7-5 record. He had 77 strikeouts, and in that season, he only gave up 20 runs in total. Last season, in 68 games pitched, he had a 3 ERA, and he gave up 20 runs in total. You want to look at the 2025 totals for Yoel Payamps? Because in 8 games, he's given up 12 runs. He's almost to the point he was at completing 2 straight seasons with the Brewers in 2023 and 2024. Not good. Not good at all. And I love the Brewers' confidence that they can fix guys, but this is one that maybe you designate him for assignment, whatever, and maybe he just sticks with the team, and then maybe you can fix him down in AAA. But right now, he's no help to you in the bullpen. And I'd rather see the Brewers bring up somebody else or try something else in that spot. So we'll see what he does. We'll see what the Brewers do there with Yoel Payamps, but I am definitely at a crossroads with him at this very moment. Outside of that, I did have one more question on pitching, and that was with Pat Murphy. Because in that game, I kept going back to he pulled Patrick out of the game. And I believe he pulled him out in the 4th inning. It was the 4th inning or just at the beginning of the 5th inning there that he decided to pull Patrick out. And I look back at the move and I'm like, okay, I don't hate the move because you thought that you were in a spot. You had guys who you thought were ready to go. 4 1/3 inning, 5 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. And Brian Hudson then came in for 2/3 of an inning, got out of it, and got him advancing out of that game. 77 pitches for Patrick. And he's done this a couple times with guys. He's pulled them early out of games and he goes straight to the bullpen. Well, when you pull Patrick, you use Hudson, you use Uribe, you use Canning, and then you bring Nick Mears in, you already limited your bullpen. You had a full bullpen, but because you pulled Patrick out so soon, you had to use that full bullpen, right? And at that very moment in that game, the Brewers, when he pulled him, had a 2-0 lead. 2-0 lead. That was in that 4th inning there that they had that 2-0 lead. And you look at the situation that he was in, and Naylor had just doubled. Gurriel flied out. And then we see Suarez. He ended up walking in that inning. And then we see Thomas. Oh, right here. Hampson struck out looking. So Patrick, I was in the wrong inning. I'm sorry there. Patrick in that bottom of the 5th struck out Hampson. And then Hudson came in. So he got the strikeout. 77 pitches, had the strikeout. Nobody's on base. In my opinion, let it ride with Patrick. He's pitching well. He got you. It was not, should I say it was his greatest performance of the year? No, I thought it was a gutsy performance. He was pitching well. Let him battle. Let him get through that 5th. When I saw him come out of the game and he's ticked off, that's what you want to see, right? But I also at the same time, I'm like, put him back in. Don't pull him. Let him go out there. Let him try to do. I hated it. I did not like that move. So do I agree with, do I think Pat Murphy's kind of pulling starters too soon? Sometimes I do. And is it his decision at the end of the day? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't? Yes. But in that situation, I thought he pulled him too early. And I think there's been a couple other situations this year where I think Pat Murphy's kind of outmanaged himself. Ride with the hot hand. Go with the gut feeling. Patrick was pitching a good game. Let it ride. I don't know. That's kind of where I was at with that. So I had that question. Somebody asked me that question on Murphy, and if I thought he was pulling some of his arms early just because he had arms available. And I think, yes, I think he is somewhat pulling guys early just because he believes, yeah, I got arms available. Great. Well, sometimes your starter's rolling. You just got to let him roll, man. You just got to let him go. Let him get it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at right now with that situation, with what I was asked there. I was asked that by a couple people out there, so I just wanted to answer that. Turang and Churiel continue their hot streak. They've had a great start to the season for the Brewers. Churio's Churio, right? At this point, Churio is just fantastic. He's a phenom at this point. I mean, goodness gracious, he is just fantastic. But Bryce Turang, I think I said it last week, and I think I'll say it again here. The way Bryce Turang's hitting is different than what we saw last season. The way Bryce Turang's hitting right now, he's seeing the baseball. He's seeing it. He's seeing the pitch. He's taking the pitch where it is. He's not trying to do too much. He's hitting it where it is. Outside pitch, boom, other way. Inside pitch, boom, pull. Last season, we have not seen him hit a home run like he did at Coors Field. That home run he hit was a shot. Getting around on that quick heater, we wouldn't have seen that. We saw it. Bryce Turang, I believe, is a different hitter this year. I don't know if it's Ryan Braun's batting gloves. He's wearing Ryan Braun's batting gloves from 2011. I don't know what it is. But he's definitely a different kind of mode right now. And he's leading the Brewers right now. 329 average. He's got 24 hits. He's got 10 RBIs, 3 home runs. He's been fantastic. Fantastic. Churio's been great too. 275 average there. He's been great. Sal Frelick continues to hit the ball well. 306 average for Sal. I mean, he's been well. Rhys Hoskins has been heating up a little bit for the Brewers, which is great to see. He hit his first home run the other night against the Tigers there. Hit that first home run, which was great to see. Christian Yelich still in the schneid a little bit there. William Contreras has been hitting the ball better. Joey Ortiz has been getting a little bit better. Mitchell hopefully heating up there. So guys are starting to hit the ball better. And You love to see it. You love to see it. Now it's about, is it sustainable? Can these guys keep carrying it? And will some of these guys come along? Right? Will some of these guys come along? Because I think a big problem guys or people have right now with the Brewers is the third base production. Because I'm looking at the stats right now, and the two guys playing third base for the Milwaukee Brewers are toe-and-toe with their batting averages. We see Oliver Dunn bat 171, and we see Capra batting 100, and he's got 3 hits on the year. One of them, that home run in Yankee Stadium, the first at-bat of his MLB with the Brewers there. First at-bat of the season there, home run, and since then, it's just been nothing. So I guess it's kind of, at this point, what are we going to get from Vinny and Dunn? And I think that's where a lot of people are having problems with. And I would not hate if the Brewers were shopping right now for a third baseman. I think they definitely need to be shopping for a third baseman at this very moment. So that's where I'm at. I completely agree. Everybody out there freaking out about it right now. I'm not freaking out about it. I'm not going to freak out about it, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm in agreement with you. The Brewers need to find better production at third base, whether it's in-house somewhere else than these two. Whether these two figure it out, one of these two figures it out, one of them maybe both figure it out, or if they go down to the minors and find a guy, or if they go out in free agency, or if they have to make a trade, whatever it is. I don't care. You got to give an arm and a leg for a guy right now. Give an arm for a leg. Because at this point, you got to find production at third base. Right now, you have nothing. You have a hole. You move Joey Ortiz over, and now you have a hole. How are you going to fill that hole? That's the question. That's the question that Pat Murphy and this Brewers team has got to figure it out. Matt Arnold, especially, right? Matt Arnold, not as much Pat Murphy. Matt Arnold and Mark Anastasio have got to figure out where can we find help at third base for Pat Murphy and the Brewers, because right now it's ugly. It's not great, and they need to fill that hole here moving forward. So the Brewers, they got a pretty good stretch, I guess you could say, of games coming up here against some decent enough teams, right? That's what we'll say. Decent enough teams. You have that wrap-up series with Tigers there. That was a tough little stretch. And then you have the Athletics. Not a pushover team in the Athletics, right? But not a great team in the Athletics. So we'll see what happens there when they take the Athletics on here. That'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So they have an off day tomorrow, and then they'll have the Athletics over the weekend. And then next week, before we come back here and talk about them a little bit more, they're going to have the Giants. So they're going to have a 4-game series with the Giants. So we'll talk a little Willie Adames next week here on the show. So with that, I mean, hey, we got one more ad break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap up the show for the day. It was a great show. We're going to wrap it up here when we come back from the break here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. This great program today was sponsored by some fantastic sponsors here of the show, and I want to mention them off here real quick here at the end as we wrap it up. Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood, expert traditional physical therapy and structural integration programming. Call for flexible scheduling and evaluations within 24 to 48 hours. Just call Sport and Spine Clinic there in Greenwood. Foreman's Hardware, they offer everything from home essentials to farm supplies, house to farm, grills to drills. Foreman's Hardware has got you covered. Visit today in Loyal, Colby, or Medford, Wisconsin there. Marshfield Motor Speedway is the half-mile paved track there, 3 miles west of Marshfield on County Road H. Find upcoming events and races at marshfieldspeedway.com there. And if you want, when you go to Foreman's there, just because I forgot there, when you go down to Foreman's there, mention to them that Trade sent you, you get 5% off. That's all you need. 5% off there at Foreman's Hardware if you tell them that Trade sent you. So, hey, before we wrap it up here, find us across social media. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe anywhere you find us there across social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Find us on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. Just search Wisco Sports on the Go. That is Wisco Sports on the Go on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. You can find us at Facebook and YouTube. Just search Wisco Sports on the Go with Trade. You can also shoot us a text, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. If you know anybody who is looking for a sponsor, right? If you want to sponsor the show here, you want to get your name out here, definitely let us know about it. We would love to help you. We'd love to take you on as a sponsor in this new year and get your name out there, get your business out there, and get more recognition if you can. And also, if you missed any portion of the show today, make sure you find us there. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, you can find us out there. Just search Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. That is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. You can find us across all the podcast platforms there. So it was a great show today. Make sure you listen back. We had Badger Talk there with Scary Alvarez. We had Ummer on there. We were talking Packer Talk there. We had Kyle on for Bucks Talk. We're going to have the Bucks coming up this weekend here. A big series starting with the Pacers there. A big series in the fact of Kyle, like he said earlier, we don't know about Giannis. What is he going to think if the Bucks drop another first round playoff series? What's Giannis going to think here? We got the Brewers coming up over the weekend. They're going to be taking on the Oakland A's. We're going to see Chad Patrick taking on the Oakland A's in the first game there, then Peralta, Alexander. And then hopefully, just hopefully, we're going to get some good news here moving forward with the Brewers pitching staff. We see Woodruff making great progress there down in AAA Nashville along with Tobias Myers. Hopefully get those two back at some point here as we get closer and closer to the month of May there. Goodness gracious, we're almost in the month of May here. Next week, we got draft talk, so make sure you guys are tuning in next week there. Ummer is going to be back. We're going to talk a lot of Packers next week. A lot of Packers, a lot of Brewers between those two because goodness gracious, we got the MLB draft coming up. We're going to have a lot of Brewer talk to get to, so I can't wait to get to that kind of talk there. So with that, that's about all we got. That's about all we got for today. It was a great night there. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of your week. But until we talk to you guys again next week, Wednesday, see ya.